Whereas climate change, pollution, and environmental destruction have exacerbated systemic racial, regional, social, environmental, and economic injustices referred to in this preamble as systematic injustices by disproportionately affecting indigenous peoples, community of color, migrant communities, deindustrialized communities, depopulated rural communities, the poor, low-income workers, women, the elderly, the unhoused, people with disabilities, and youth, referred to in this preamble as frontline and vulnerable communities. So I don't really know what I want to say about this, but I don't really like the way that it's worded. The unhoused, homeless, people of color, what do you mean by people of color? Which color? And women, it's not like men aren't affected either. I mean, when you, I'm just moving on. Whereas climate change constitutes a direct threat to the national security of the United States. This is true. One, by impacting the economic, environmental, and social stability of countries and communities around the world. And two, by acting as a threat multiplier. Yeah, I can't really think of anything to add there. Whereas the federal government led mobilizations during World War II and the New Deal created the greatest middle class that the United States have ever seen, or has ever seen, okay. But many members of frontline and vulnerable communities were excluded from many of the economic and societal benefits of these mobilizations. Okay, well, if they're using frontline communities in that aspect, okay, then it fits. But although they didn't really leave out the elderly in that, and they didn't really leave out rural communities. I mean, it was mostly segregation between black and white people. That was mostly what happened. Alright. Whereas the House of Representatives, the House of Representatives recognizes that a new national, social, industrial, and economic mobilization on a scale not seen since World War II and the New Deal era is a historic opportunity, one, to create millions of good, high-wage jobs in the United States. Why do they have to be high-wage jobs? Why can't they just be adequate wage jobs? Why, not everybody wants to be rich. Only the useless people want to be rich. Two, to provide unprecedented levels of prosperity and economic security for all people of the United States. Okay, that's a little idealistic, sure. And three, to counteract systemic injustices. Now, therefore, be it, okay, alright. Now, therefore, be it resolved that it is the sense of the House of Representatives that, one, it is a duty of the federal government to create a Green New Deal. A, to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions through a fair and just transition for all communities and workers. Okay. B, to create millions of good, high-wage jobs to ensure prosperity and economic security for all people in the United States. Okay, I referred to my high-wage comment before. And, okay, well, the New Deal was about creating jobs. I mean, that's why we have government as big as it is now. Of course, people against this are going to say they want smaller government. And my response to anybody who says they want smaller government is, okay, which people in this country, which citizens would you like to kill off? Because the government of any country is its population, regardless of whether it's explicitly stated or not. And part of the advantage of the New Deal was that it gave people an opportunity to be more active, to take a more active role in the way their government was managed and run. So, Yeah. Um, so yeah, creating jobs, okay, but I mean, this is only a resolution, so I wouldn't expect further explanation on that. Um, for this, to invest in the infrastructure and industry of the United States to sustainably meet the challenges of the 21st century. Okay, you can't really get more specific than that in that case. Okay, D, to secure for all people in the United States for generations to come. 1. Clean air and water. 2. Climate and community resiliency. 3. Healthy food. 4. Access to nature. And 5. A sustainable environment. Yes, this is very well written, clean, concise, to the point, and good. E. To promote justice and equity by stopping current, preventing future, and repairing historic oppression of indigenous peoples, communities of color, migrant communities, deindustrialized communities, depopulated rural communities, the poor, low-income workers, women, the elderly, the unhoused, people with disabilities, and youth, referred to in this resolution as frontline and vulnerable communities. Okay, again, going back to what I said before, you're saying by this, in this, that men have never been affected. If you want. If you want something to be successful, you have to be inclusive. Okay, now if you want to recognize that typically, like on average, more of one type of person than another type of person has been gone through this experience, that's okay. But you can't just make a blanket statement saying that only these types of people have gone through it, which is basically what this does. And even though it's not explicit, it's kind of implied because you're leaving out. 2. The goals described in subparagraphs A through E of paragraph 1, referred to in this resolution as the Green New Deal goals, should be accomplished through a 10-year national mobilization, referred to in this resolution as Green New Deal mobilization, that will require the following goals and projects. And actually, you know what? I'm going to pause there to just go back over this E a little more. So, the whole reparations of the past is always going to be a clusterfuck controversy. Because on one hand, yes, you have to recognize that there have been groups of people that have been disproportionately affected by something. But on the other hand, what in order to make reparations, you have to take away from somebody else. So the question becomes, who are you taking away from and who are you giving to? Now, do you take away from somebody that passively benefited from something, that didn't even know that they were benefiting from something? Or, and then there's the other argument that people want, the whole sins of the father argument that people want to make, and I'm sorry, but I just can't buy into that. If you believe in the sins of the father argument, then you're essentially a racist. Because that's where the part of the stem of where racism, ethnicism comes from, is the whole belief that, because you were born this way, you therefore are this way, and it's I mean, we can have this conversation like till we're all blue in the face, and it's just going to wind up being, the whole reparation thing. There's going to be something that nobody really agrees on. But rather, we have to in my opinion, I wouldn't focus so much on the idea of reparations. I would focus on the idea of establishing equality, okay, establishing neutrality. Now, this is harder to do. You do have to go a little bit into the whole reparations idea, but not to the extreme as I would, I would say that other people would want to. Realistically, as shitty as it kind of sounds, I think the best way to make reparations, basically fix the problem of inequality, racial, ethnic, gender, inequality, is to make sure that all things are equal and neutral. Finding all the people who want to disparage one group of people for having created a situation, and then and then in that case, from there you can grab your reparations from, after having found, okay, well, these people are responsible for doing this, and this was inspired by ethnicism or whatever, and then from there building a community that matches everybody else's, as far as abilities and resources.